With about 3 months to go, I just wanted to make a video and kind of talk to you about three things that I think you can do for the most benefit. And then there's kind of a fourth tip, and it may surprise you a little bit. So the three things that I'm going to talk about today are practice, power, and interval training. And I kind of break them down into these three parts for a specific reason. So primarily, when I talk about practice, I talk about throwing practice. And when I talk about throwing practice, I don't mean throwing before you play for 15 minutes and that's it. I mean going out to a field with somebody, going out to a field by yourself a couple times a week, 3 times a week, 2 hours a time. So you're getting 5, 6, 7 hours a week in, taking 10 discs, and so there's sort of 4 parts to this. One is the throwing practice. So whether that's for 2 hours straight, you're just throwing, that's great, whether you're throwing for an hour, but hundreds of throws. Like, you need to be getting a lot of throws in. And I compare this to if you're a golfer going to a driving range and just getting a ton of practice and working on your technique, working on the mechanics, really getting your throw down for your body and really figuring out what your throw is like. When you play, you don't get enough throws in. So you really need to get out, you really need to practice throwing before the season starts. So when you go out to those first tryouts, the first practices, your throws are already there. And you don't have to waste any time trying to get caught up in between practices during the week. Another thing I want you to do when you're out practicing is catching. So whether you're doing MTAs, so throwing it up in the air, trying to catch it as it comes down, whether you're throwing it, trying to chase it down and catch it, or whether you're out there with a friend, practice catching. The best way to get better at catching is to practice catching. It's that simple. Along with throwing, so when I first talked about the throwing practice, that was more taking 10 discs out, just practicing throwing over and over and over again, so getting a lot of throws in. But you also need to practice throwing to a moving target. So you could be the best thrower in the world, but if you can't throw to somebody who's actually running, then you're not going to be very useful to your team. So when you're getting out and throwing, go out once or twice a week with somebody else as well, and maybe for an hour you can both just throw, and then for the other hour you can throw to each other, have someone running, have someone moving, getting used to throwing to somebody and leading them. Getting better at that. And then also jumping and catching the disc. So in a game, you're not going to be able to just stand there and wait for the disc out all the time. A lot of times it's going to be in the air, you're going to have to jump for it. You're going to have someone defending you, chasing you down, so you're going to have to go up early and get the disc. And this kind of touches on the next part, power, but the stronger you get, the more power you get, the higher you're going to jump. So you need to figure out how high you can jump. So if you're jumping at discs that are 15 feet in the air and you can't jump 15 feet, you need to figure that out right away. If you're jumping 7 feet and you can jump 8 feet, well, you need to figure that out as well, because then you can get the disc a lot earlier. So when you're going in and practicing, practice those things. Practice throwing, practice catching, practice throwing to a moving target, and practice jumping and catching the disc, catching it as high as you can. When I talk about power, I'm saying this because, like I said, there's 3 months until the season starts for most people. It starts in May. It's the beginning of February right now. And so by power, I mean squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, push-ups, burpees, lunges. Really get those power components in your body. Yes, it's great to do a lot of running and work on your arms, get your arms stronger and get your abs and core stronger. But you really need that power in your legs, because it's not something you can really work on a lot during the season if you're playing a lot. So it's something you need to incorporate right now. So go to the gym, talk to a trainer, look at different workouts online. CrossFit is a good one. They have a lot of pre-planned workouts, but you have to know the technique. So if you're just doing squats and you have terrible technique, you're going to hurt yourself and it's not going to be good. Learn how to do them, right? Spend $50 on a trainer for an hour. Get them to teach you how to do the proper techniques. When you learn how to do those proper techniques, then it's going to help your entire body. It's going to help your posture. It's going to help you run better, everything like that. So when I talk about power, I talk about those things. Interval training is another important thing to be doing in the gym. So it's great if you can run, 15K on a treadmill or run 15K outside, but in a game you're not really jogging long distances, right? So what I recommend doing is set the treadmill for about 20 minutes, sprint for 3 minutes at about 9, 9.5, 10, whatever you're comfortable with, and then for a minute go at about 6. And that's all miles per hour. So 3 minutes on, 1 minute off. Just do that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right? It's going to help you in a game, because in a game you're doing a lot of sprinting and resting, sprinting, resting, sprinting, resting. So it's going to stimulate that. I've been a proponent of long running, maybe on the weekends or something, just to get some lung strength, some cardio going. It's great for losing some weight if you have a little bit of winter weight to lose. Interval training is definitely key, so be doing that. When you're working out, be intense. Don't just get on the bike, don't get on the treadmill and just kind of, go through the motions, because you're just wasting your time. So if you're in the gym, really spend the time, be there, be present, and go hard, be intense. And then kind of the last thing I was going to mention, I had mentioned a tip, and I strongly believe that playing during the winter is not really as beneficial as everything else. So if you're playing, then that's time taken away from you practicing throwing, practicing catching, being in the gym, working on the power and things like that. If you can get all your throwing in, all your practice catching in, you can get the power and all the interval training, and you can do all of that, and you still have some time, go ahead and play, but you're going to be playing a lot during the year, right? It's not like 2 or 3 months in the wintertime playing is really going to set you that far ahead in the summer. Okay, especially because indoor is a different game than outdoors. It's much bigger surface outside. Game is very different, 7-on-7 instead of 4-on-4 or 5-on-5. So really recommend. Above all, I think the main thing that you need to practice is throwing and catching. Do that, and then get in shape, right? Work on the power, squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, things like that, and then also incorporate the interval training. So when you hit tryouts, when you hit practices in May, your throws are going to be awesome, and your fitness is going to be awesome. The playing, you will develop, because playing, you can play with, 20 people in the wintertime, but you're not going to be playing with them in the summer probably, right? Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but you're going to have to relearn how to play with those people. So I think it's way more important to become better at throwing, get in shape, so when you actually hit the ground in May and you are playing with those people and trying out and things like that, you're going to have all those solid skills and mechanics already there, and then you can learn how to play with your team as you go on through the summer. So those are kind of my three, I feel like the 3 must-haves that you can do for the next 3 months. And then my little tip is don't focus on playing. If you have time to do it, do it. If not, if you're neglecting something else, then make sure that playing's not getting in the way of that. So